In our last video, we started working on the small business management spreadsheet. In this video, we're going to continue. Before we begin today's work, go ahead and open Excel and open your small business management spreadsheet. You can pause the video until you've done that. Okay, now that you've opened your small business management spreadsheet, you should have two tabs: the purchase orders tab, or the purchase orders worksheet. Each tab is a worksheet, and the vendors worksheet. Now, our next worksheet is going to be a customers worksheet. Now, basically, we need the same information for the customers that we have for the vendors. So we can duplicate worksheets very easily. What we're going to do is right-click on the vendors tab. So let's click on that with the right mouse button, and you'll get a menu like this, and you want to choose Move or Copy. The Move or Copy window appears, and we can actually move or copy this to another workbook altogether. So that's what that first drop down is. In this case, that's not what we're going to do, but we do have that option right there. If you wanted to either create a new workbook or move or copy it to a workbook you already have open, another workbook you already have open, you could do that here. You can choose to insert it before any of the worksheets that we already have, or you can move it to the end. Let's go ahead and move it to the end. So click Move to End. And then if we were to just click OK, we'd simply move vendors to the end. Well, it's already at the end. That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is create a copy of it. So we're going to check this Create a Copy button, or checkbox down here. All right, once you've checked Create a Copy and selected Move to End, we can click OK. And there we go. That gives us a Vendors To tab. Now, this tab is going to be called Customers. It's the Customers worksheet. So to rename, remember we can either double click or right click and choose Rename. So do either one of those things and then type Customers. Once you've typed in Customers, press Enter. Okay, now that's really all we need to do to the Customers worksheet for now. So let's go ahead and save this. Next, we need a Products worksheet. So to do that, we're going to go down to here to the New Sheet button, and we're going to click on that. That creates Sheet 4, and we need to rename that to Products. So again, double click or right click and choose Rename, and type Products. Once you've typed Products, press Enter. And now in the A1 cell, we're going to start typing in the fields for this worksheet. The first one is the product ID. So type product ID, and as before, press the Tab key to move into the B1 cell. In the B1 cell, we're going to type product name. Now we need to know which vendor supplies the product. So in the C1 cell, we're going to type vendor, and then tab. In D1, we're going to type unit price, and then we're going to press tab again. And finally, we need to know what tax class this product falls under. So we're going to type tax class. And then we can press enter or tab again. It doesn't really matter because we're not going to stay where we're in the new cell that we move into. So as before, we're going to highlight roughly 15 rows down and turn this into a table. So we want to position the cursor in the A1 cell where it looks like a white cross like this. We're going to click and hold the mouse down and drag down to around E15. So we should have all of the um, columns that have text in them selected and down, roughly 15 rows. Next up, on the Home tab of the ribbon, we're going to go to the Styles group and click Format as Table. Again, you can choose any format you want. I'm going to stick with the format I had before, but you're welcome to change something else. You'll get the Format as Table dialog box. Be sure to check My Table has headers, and that's the only thing you need to do in that, so then click OK. Once you've clicked OK, you'll notice you now have a nicely formatted table. So now we have the purchase orders worksheet, the vendors worksheet, the customers worksheet, and the products worksheet. Let's say that products actually needs to go after vendors. After all, purchase orders, vendors, and products do kind of go together. So we want products to appear between vendors and customers. There are a couple of ways we could do that. You might have already guessed that one of them would be to right-click and go to Move or Copy. After all, that's what it's all about, either moving or copying. The other one would simply be to click and drag products and drop it in between vendors and customers. So let's look at each of those. And you can go ahead and try this yourself. Simply click and hold the mouse button on products and move to where the arrow points between vendors and customers, and then let go. And that will place products between vendors and customers. Now, let's say we want to put it between purchase orders and vendors instead. We could simply drag it like we just did, but instead let's right click, and once we right click, choose Move or Copy. And then in the Before Sheet list, let's click Vendors. Don't check Create a Copy. That needs to stay unchecked this time because we're moving it, we're not copying it. And then click OK. And there we go. We now have purchase orders, then products, then vendors, and finally customers. We can now save. Now in the products table, we introduced the tax class field. And before we create our final worksheet, which is going to record sales to customers, we're going to create a worksheet that will allow us to set up tax classes. So let's create another worksheet. Go down to New Sheet again. Click on that. It will insert Sheet 5 after the sheet that was selected when you clicked that. So for me, it's right after products. That's probably where it is for you as well. That's fine. We'll need to rename that. So again, you can either double click or right click and choose rename. And we're going to call this tax classes. Then in the A1 cell, we need two fields. So the first one we're going to type into the A1 cell is tax class, and then we're going to tab. And then in B1, we're going to type tax rate. Now that you have the tax class and tax rate, we're going to highlight a few rows down. You're not going to have quite as many tax classes and rates as you would other things. So we're going to highlight A1 through B6 or 7, something like that. Then let go. And then back on the Home tab of the ribbon, in the Styles group, we're going to click Format as Table and choose whichever table design you like. Don't forget to check My Table Has Headers in the dialog box that appears, because again, we have a header, tax class and tax rate is our header. And then we're going to click OK. Okay, we have one more sheet to create. So let's go back to the New Sheet button. Click on that again. Now it placed sheet 6 after tax classes, but this is kind of the last thing. So I'm going to click and drag it and drop it after customers. So just keep moving the mouse until the arrow points after customers, and then let go. And again, don't forget that instead of dragging, you could actually right-click and choose Move or Copy, and then simply click Move to End. That would have done the exact same thing as dragging and dropping. And we're also going to rename this, and it's called Sales. And this is where we're going to record all sales of products to customers. Now, to simplify this example, at least for now, this table is simply going to list the sale of individual products to individual customers. We're not going to record sales of multiple products under a single sale. So if you were to sell 3 separate items to a single customer in a single sale, you would list 3 different rows, one for each product. Again, that simplifies for this example. We'll leave it as an exercise for you to determine how you would record multiple sales or sales of multiple products in a single order. You'll want to wait until the end of these projects to do that. Okay, so in the A1 cell, let's start typing in our field names. Date is going to be our first column. Tab into the next column. Customer is going to be the field in the B column. Tab into C. Product ID will be in the C column. Tab to D1 and type product name. Okay, so far we have date, customer, product ID, and product name. Now if you tab into E1, we're going to type quantity. Tab into F1. And this is a yes or no field. The field is going to be called tax exempt. Tab into G1. Next up, we have the unit price. Remember, the unit price is the price for each of the single quantity. We're going to tab into H1, and we need to calculate the total amount. That would be the quantity times the unit price. And then we'll tab into I. And in I1, we're going to type tax class. Tab into J. Type tax rate. Tab into K. And finally, our grand total. Now, the grand total is going to be the total amount times 1 plus the tax rate. All right, and then press enter. Now we've got some columns that are getting, where the labels, the field names are getting cut off. Before we deal with those, we're going to go ahead and turn this into a table, format it as a table. So again, we click and highlight from A1 down to K15, 16, something like that. And then once you've highlighted, go to Format as Table and choose the table format you want to use. Once you've chosen the table format, check My Table Has Headers from the Format as Table dialog box and click OK. And here we go. That was kind of cool. The um, the columns actually resized in order to fit all of the text in the columns. So that's good. Now we don't have to resize them ourselves. But remember, if we did need to resize them, for example, maybe we need more space for the product name. I think we probably do. We probably also need more space for the customer and the date. So what we can do is position the mouse between the A and B cells on the little line. When the cursor looks like my cursor does right now, you can click and drag to make date a little bit larger. Or you can right click. So let's do it with the B column to make customer larger. So we right click on the B heading and then click on column width, which is right between format cells and hide. And then we can type in a width that works for us. I'm going to type 16 and I'm going to click OK. That made it a little bit wider. And then I'm going to do the same thing with product name. Right click, click column width, and I'm going to go with 16 for that too, although that's only slightly larger, and then click OK. Okay, we've now created all of our worksheets, so we're going to click the Save button. Now, in the next video, we're going to add some interactivity to this, some functionality. So I'll see you in the next video.